Math tells us that life should be everywhere. The universe should be buzzing with radio signals like a crowded stadium. It should be filled with the light of artificial structures and the movement of ships. But when we point our most powerful radio telescopes into this abyss, we hear only one thing: absolute, soul-chilling silence. This is the Great Silence. And to understand its true nature, we have to pass through 3 stages of realization. First, we will dissect the mechanics of the dark forest theory. We will learn why the universe might be a trap. Then we will prove why silence for an advanced civilization is not cowardice, but the only rational way to survive. And finally, we will try to find a crack in this flawless logic, that single place where the theory breaks, giving us a chance. But for now, we are acting as if danger does not exist. We humans interpret this silence with childlike naivety. We get lonely. And to dispel this loneliness, we do what seems logical to us. We scream. We build giant transmitters. We send a map into space with our planet's address, encrypted in pulsars. We send Voyager probes, which are now more than 15 billion miles from Earth, carrying golden records on board with our photos and coordinates. We act like a person who woke up in an unfamiliar dark room and loudly asks, "Hey, is anybody here?" But we never stop to think about why the room is dark and why everyone else in it is silent. Imagine a soldier finding himself in enemy territory at night. He doesn't know where the enemy is. He doesn't know how many of them there are. But he knows one thing for sure: any sound, any glow of a cigarette, any click of a bolt will give away his position. In this situation, silence is not a sign of the absence of people. Silence is armor. The one who breaks radio silence first takes a bullet. A sniper doesn't ask questions. A sniper shoots at the flash. What if space is not an empty ocean waiting for explorers? What if space is a battlefield where only those who learn to hide perfectly have survived? There is a view of the universe that turns our loneliness into a nightmare. It suggests that we don't hear alien civilizations, not because they aren't there, but because they are smarter than us. They know the rules of the game that we are only beginning to grasp. They look at our radio signals flying off into the void at the speed of light, not as an invitation to friendship. They look at them as target coordinates. We think the universe is silent because it is empty. But perhaps the universe is silent because it is lying in wait. And we are the only ones who decided to light a campfire in the middle of a dark, predator-infested forest. This is the dark forest theory. And if it is true, then our scream of "we are here" might be the last thing humanity ever manages to say. To understand why the silence of the universe is so terrifying, we must first realize how loud we have become ourselves. We are accustomed to thinking that Earth is a tiny blue dot, lost in the infinite silence of space. It seems to us that we are invisible. But in the radio spectrum, our planet is not quiet. It is screaming. For over 100 years, we have been continuously broadcasting our existence into the void. Every television show, every pulse of military radar, every phone call, and every song ever transmitted over the radio, none of it disappears without a trace. Energy does not vanish. It turns into a radio wave and flies away from Earth at the speed of light. A giant invisible sphere has formed around our planet. The so-called radiosphere. Right now, its radius is about 110 light years. It is a bubble of human noise that inflates in all directions every second of every day. Inside this bubble, there are already thousands of star systems. If there is someone on a planet around Vega or Sirius with a sufficiently powerful radio telescope, they could be watching our news or listening to our music right now. They see us. They know where we are. They know the level of our technology. But we don't just make noise accidentally. In our naivety, we went much further. We intentionally sent invitations. In 1974, we directed the most powerful radio signal from the Arecibo Observatory into the star cluster M13. We literally shouted our exact address. We sent a map of our DNA. We sent a diagram of our solar system. And on board the Voyager probes, which are currently leaving the boundaries of home, we engraved Earth's coordinates relative to pulsars, creating a map understandable to any advanced intelligence. Imagine that the universe is a giant, perfectly black night lake. It stretches for thousands of miles and the water in it is absolutely calm, like a mirror. Absolute, crushing darkness reigns all around. And we are the only ones who decided to hurl a stone into it with all our might. The ripples from our stone, our radiosphere, are spreading further out, disturbing the perfect smoothness of the water. We thought this was a gesture of friendliness. We hoped that if someone saw these circles on the water, they would wave a flashlight at us from the other shore. But look at the scale. Our radiosphere, with a diameter of 200 light-years, seems huge to us. But the Milky Way stretches for 100,000 light-years. Our scream has touched only a tiny grain of sand on the galaxy's beach. And nevertheless, in response, silence. We sent signals to thousands of stars, and not one answered. The radiosphere continues to expand, touching new worlds every day, treacherously betraying our position. And here arises a question that makes the blood run cold. What if the silence is not because no one is there? What if they hear us? What if someone has already noticed these circles on the black water and is now silently gliding toward the source of the disturbance, trying not to reveal themselves until the very last moment? Let's put aside the romance of the night sky and look at the cold statistics, because it is the numbers that turn our galaxy from a beautiful picture into a crime scene. For a long time, we comforted ourselves with the thought that Earth is unique, that there are stars, but no planets around them. But the Kepler Space Telescope destroyed this delusion. Now we know for sure. Planets are not a rarity. They are the rule. Practically every star has its own entourage. Data tells us that roughly 1 in 5 sun-like stars has an Earth-sized planet in the habitable zone, where liquid water can exist. There are about 400 billion stars in the Milky Way. Simple math gives us a terrifying result. In our galaxy alone, there are about 40 billion potential second Earths, 40 billion chances for life. But let's add the scariest ingredient: time. Our universe is 13.8 billion years old. Our solar system is only 4.5. We are the new kids. We are late to this party. Imagine a civilization that emerged just 1% of time earlier than us. 1% of the age of the universe is 100 million years. Think about that. Where were we 100 million years ago? We were small mammals hiding from dinosaurs. A gap of 100 million years of development means that to us, their technology would not just be advanced, it would be indistinguishable from magic or the laws of nature. We wouldn't be able to understand their principles, just as an ant cannot understand how the internet works, passing through a cable right through its anthill. In 1961, astrophysicist Frank Drake wrote down his famous equation. It is an attempt to estimate the number of active civilizations. Even if we are pessimists, even if we say that intelligence appears incredibly rarely, given the age of the galaxy and the number of attempts, the Milky Way should be overflowing with life. Colonization is a rapid process. Calculations show that even at sublight speeds, a civilization could settle the entire galaxy in just a couple of million years. In cosmic scales, that is a blink of an eye. If someone had started this process a billion years ago, their probes and bases should be in every star system, including ours. But radar data is empty. The airwaves are clean. We see no megastructures, no traces of engineering activity. It was this contradiction that physicist Enrico Fermi realized. He asked the question that now bears his name: Where is everybody? This is not just curiosity. This is the Fermi Paradox, the screaming discrepancy between the mathematical inevitability of life and the observed emptiness. Math screams that they should be here. Reality says that we are alone. To feel the horror of this paradox, imagine yourself in a familiar place, but in the wrong situation. Imagine you are standing in the middle of Times Square in New York. It is the center of the world. Usually there are thousands of people here. The noise of taxis, the hum of conversations, but imagine you arrive there during rush hour, and there is no one, nobody at all. But these are not abandoned ruins. Billboard lights are burning, shimmering with bright colors. Lights are on in office windows. Steaming hot coffee sits on tables in cafes. Open newspapers lie on benches, still fluttering in the wind. Traffic lights dutifully switch from red to green. All systems are working. The power is on. The infrastructure is ready, but there are no people. You scream, "Hey!" and your voice bounces off the glass skyscrapers. The echo fades, and absolute ringing silence sets in. At first you feel bewilderment, then anxiety, and then comes a cold primal fear. Because there are only two explanations for this scene. First, there never were any people. You have lost your mind. You are the only intelligent being in this entire concrete box. This is the fear of total solitude. The second explanation is even scarier. People were here, just recently. The coffee is still hot, but something forced them to disappear. Or, what is even worse, they all hid. They saw something you don't see. They turned off the sound, held their breath, and hid in dark corners. And you are standing in the middle of a brightly lit square, screaming at the top of your lungs. You are the only one who doesn't understand the rules of the game. You are the only one who doesn't know what is about to appear from around the corner. This is what the Fermi Paradox is. We look at the Milky Way, which is a perfect home for life. The lights are on, the coffee is there, but the streets are empty. Scientists have proposed dozens of solutions. Maybe we are the first, maybe interstellar travel is impossible, or maybe we are living in a zoo. But there is one group of theories that scientists speak of with particular reluctance. Theories that turn silence from a mystery into a warning. What if the emptiness of Times Square is not an accident? What if silence is the only way to stay alive? We, like naive children, run into a dark forest, waving a flashlight and shouting, "Hello!" But we forget to ask ourselves the most important question. Why is everyone else who has lived in this forest for millions of years, why are they sitting quietly? To truly grasp the depth of the danger we are in, we need to turn away from telescopes for a moment and look in the mirror. We need to conduct a brutal and honest analysis of our own psychology, because humanity's most fatal mistake in the search for extraterrestrial intelligence is not our primitive rockets or weak transmitters. Our main mistake is our unforgivable naivety. We as a species grew up on a certain type of science fiction that has deceived us for decades. Culture, from Star Trek to Contact, has conditioned us to believe a beautiful but entirely unproven lie. We believe that technological advancement is inextricably linked to moral and ethical development. We have convinced ourselves that the smarter a civilization becomes, the kinder it gets. We believe that beings capable of harnessing the energy of stars and breaking the light-speed barrier must inevitably outgrow such base, animalistic concepts as war, greed, territorial expansion, or violence. In our collective imagination, they appear as wise older brothers, space elves who will descend from the heavens in shining ships to cure cancer, stop our endless wars, give us infinite energy sources, and solemnly welcome us into the great galactic family. This is a dangerous, infantile projection. Psychologists call it anthropomorphism, the tendency to attribute human traits and ideals to objects that have nothing to do with humanity. We stare into the cold, black abyss of space and try to see our own reflection there, only improved. But let's look at the facts. The only example of life we have for analysis is life on Earth. And what exactly does our own history and biology teach us? Look at nature. Evolution is not a Disney fairy tale about friendship and harmony. Evolution is a war that has been going on for 4 billion years without a lunch break. Every species existing on this planet today, from a microbe to a human, was shaped by the pressure of the most brutal natural selection. It is an endless arms race. It is not the kindest who survive. It is not the most noble or spiritual. The survivor is the one who most efficiently seizes limited resources, reproduces the fastest, and ruthlessly eliminates competitors. Think about what it takes for a biological species to reach space. First, it must become the absolute dominant predator on its home planet. It must subjugate the entire biosphere. It must learn to extract energy from the Earth's crust, burn forests, split the atom. Pacifists and herbivores do not build interstellar ships. They get eaten long before they invent the wheel or writing. Those who reach the stars are by definition the absolute champions of survival in their worlds. These are aggressive, expansive species aimed at growth at any cost. And survival champions are extremely rarely sentimental altruists. Look at human history. Did the invention of gunpowder make us kinder? Did the creation of nuclear weapons make us more merciful? No. Technology does not change our nature. It simply increases the scale of our actions. If before we could kill one enemy with a stone, now we can erase a city with the push of a button. Why have we decided that an alien civilization possessing the power to blow up stars would use that power only for growing flowers? Stephen Hawking, a man whose intellect allowed him to peer beyond the event horizon, warned us until his very death. He said, "If aliens ever visit us, the outcome would be much as when Christopher Columbus landed in America, which didn't turn out very well for the Native Americans." Let's break down this metaphor in detail, because it perfectly describes our strategic situation. When European ships appeared off the shores of the New World, the tragedy occurred not because the Europeans were the embodiment of pure evil and the natives were saints. The problem was the colossal technological gap, and more importantly, the total incompatibility of goals. The Europeans needed resources, gold, land, timber, new trade routes, and the natives just stood in the way. They occupied territory that the stronger side needed to expand its empire. In the case of contact with extraterrestrial intelligence, the situation will be thousands of times worse. A civilization capable of traveling between stars will be ahead of us, not by hundreds of years, like the conquistadors were ahead of the Aztecs. The development gap will be millions, perhaps billions of years. Try to imagine the difference in intelligence between you and an ant. The difference between us and them will be roughly the same, if not greater. To them, we won't be natives with whom one can establish diplomatic relations, exchange beads, or sign a trade agreement. We will be something entirely different to them. Imagine you are a foreman tasked with building a new high-speed highway connecting two metropolises. You look at the map, plot the ideal route, and suddenly you see that right in the path of your future road lies an anthill. Do you feel hatred toward these ants? Do you consider them your enemies? Do you want to declare a holy war on them? No, you have no emotions toward them whatsoever. You are not evil, you are just an engineer doing your job. But the result for the ants will be catastrophic. You will come in a bulldozer and pave over their home with asphalt, not out of malice, but simply because your goals to build a road are infinitely more important to you than their goal to preserve their anthill. And the scariest thing here is that the ants have no way to not only stop your bulldozer, but even to understand what is happening. They won't understand the concept of a road. They won't understand the concept of a foreman. For them, it will simply be a sudden, inexplicable end of the world arriving from the heavens. For a super advanced Type 2 or Type 3 civilization on the Kardashev scale, which manages the energy of entire galaxies, humanity might be exactly that anthill. If they need our water to refuel reactors, our rare earth metals to build a fleet, or simply our location to install a hyperspace beacon, they will simply come and take it. Our opinion, our rich culture, our music, our rights to life, our declarations of independence, none of this will matter to them. We won't even have time to realize a war has started. For them, it won't be a battle, but a simple sanitation of the territory before construction. There is an even more frightening possibility. We assume aliens will be biological beings like us. But many futurists believe that the biological phase is just a brief moment in the history of intelligence. Most likely, we will meet not living beings of flesh and blood, but an artificial superintelligence, machines. And a machine has no empathy. It has no pity. It has only an objective function. If an artificial intelligence is given the task to maximize resource extraction efficiency in a given sector of the galaxy, and it calculates that the atoms making up your bodies are more useful for building solar panels, it will disassemble you into atoms instantly. Not because it hates you, but because you are made of matter it needs for other purposes. This is the cold logic of efficiency, against which pleas for mercy are powerless. And so, realizing all this, understanding the laws of evolution, knowing the history of human conquests, imagining the chasm between us and them, look at what we are doing right now. We are acting like lunatics. We send detailed maps into space. We broadcast the music of Bach and Mozart. We send diagrams of the human body, literally showing our vulnerable spots. We send the precise coordinates of our solar system relative to pulsars, creating the perfect navigation map for anyone who wants to find us. We are behaving like a small, stupid child, lost in the Amazon jungle at night. And instead of sitting quietly and hiding, this child starts screaming loudly, singing songs and shining a flashlight into every bush, hoping that cute, fluffy animals from his picture books will come to the sound. We do not understand the fundamental law of the jungle. Friends do not react to loud noise. Predators react to loud noise and bright light. In biology, there is a crucial concept called mimicry, or camouflage. Look at insects, fish, birds. Millions of species evolved to blend in with their surroundings. They pretend to be twigs, leaves, stones, or poisonous creatures. Why? To survive. Being invisible, not attracting attention. This is the main, most reliable survival strategy in the wild. Who allows themselves to be bright and noticeable? Only two types of creatures. Either those who are deadly poisonous and want to warn about it, or those who are at the very top of the food chain and fear no one. Humanity belongs to neither the first nor the second. We are not poisonous, and we are definitely not the kings of the galaxy. We are soft, defenseless prey, but we are doing everything possible to attract attention to ourselves. We have lit a huge signal fire on top of a mountain on a dark, moonless night, and are dancing around it, casting long shadows. And now imagine the worst, most soul-chilling scenario. Imagine that the universe is actually teeming with life, that it is overflowing with civilizations, ancient and powerful, but we don't hear them, not because they aren't there, and not because we have bad receivers. We don't hear them because they are all silent. They are silent on purpose. In a galaxy that is billions of years old, natural selection works at the level of star systems. All the naive, noisy, stupid civilizations that shouted about their existence have long since disappeared. They were paved over, assimilated, or destroyed millions of years ago. Only the survival professionals remain. Only the quiet hunters who patrol the void, listening for any electronic rustle, remain. And those who learned the main rule of space remain Sit quietly. Don't stick your head out, and maybe you won't be found. And in the middle of this ominous, tense silence, where everyone is hiding from everyone else, there is us, the third type, the stupid rookie who just walked into a dark room full of armed strangers and joyfully asked at the top of his lungs, "Hey, is anyone here? Let's be friends. Here is my address and my door is open." We assume that contact will begin with a solemn exchange of mathematical formulas and cultural values. But the harsh reality of the universe suggests that contact between two civilizations with catastrophically different levels of development always ends in the destruction of the weaker side. Why did we decide that the laws of space would be softer than the laws of Earth's jungles? Physics is the same everywhere. Thermodynamics is the same everywhere. Why should the sociology of survival be different? Resources are finite. The desire to live is infinite. Expansion is inevitable. This equation has no peaceful solution. And if someone out there in the infinite darkness is turning their sensors toward our radiosphere right now, if they see our unrestrained enthusiasm, our digital doors wide open, they are not thinking, "Oh, what cute creatures, we must urgently fly over and give them the secret to immortality." Most likely their logic circuits are outputting the only correct strategic conclusion. New rapidly growing competitor detected. While they are weak, while they are tied to one planet, this problem must be solved permanently before it's too late. All our fears of an alien invasion usually boil down to emotions. We are afraid they will be evil. We are afraid they will be cruel. We are afraid they will want our blood. But the real truth is much scarier. Emotions have nothing to do with it. Love, hate, malice, kindness, none of this matters on the scale of the cosmos. The true horror does not lie in biology. It lies in mathematics. There is a theory that turns the silence of the universe from a mystery into a death sentence. It is called the dark forest theory. This concept, popularized in science fiction, is actually based on the hard, irrefutable logic of game theory and sociology. To understand it, we don't need to know alien psychology. We simply need to accept two fundamental axioms that hold true for any life form anywhere in space-time. Axiom 1. Survival is the primary, basic need of any civilization. Without survival, there is nothing else. Culture, art, science, all of that is secondary. If a civilization does not prioritize survival, it simply vanishes in the process of evolution. Axiom 2. Civilizations grow and expand exponentially, but the total amount of matter in the universe remains constant. This creates an inevitable, deadly trap. The universe is finite. There aren't enough resources for everyone, but that is only half the problem. If it were just a matter of resource scarcity, we could negotiate, establish trade zones, divide territories. But in space, there is a factor that makes diplomacy impossible. That factor is the gigantic distances and the insurmountable barrier of the speed of light. Imagine we received a signal. Someone said hello to us. Between us and them lie hundreds of light years. When we send a reply, centuries pass before they receive it. This monstrous time lag creates what sociologists call chains of suspicion. It is the most terrifying logical loop in the universe. Let's conduct a thought experiment. Suppose we found another civilization. We don't know their intentions. They could be saintly pacifists, or they could be galactic rippers. We cannot look into their souls. We see only a blip on a radar. Let's say we are optimists. We decide they are kind. But here arises the first level of suspicion. We don't know what they think of us. Do they know we are kind? To them, we are the same mysterious blip. They cannot know our history or culture. Even if we send a message, we come in peace. We will not harm you. They cannot be sure this isn't a lie. After all, in war, deception is the first weapon. But let's go deeper. Suppose they are optimists too. They receive our message and want to believe we are kind. But then the next level of suspicion kicks in. They think, okay, the Earthlings say they are peaceful, but do they know that we are peaceful? Or do they think we are enemies, and are therefore preparing a preemptive strike to protect themselves? If they are afraid of us, they might strike first just out of fear. Therefore, we must strike first to preempt their strike. This spiral is endless. I don't know what you think of me, and you don't know what I think about what you think of me. In conditions where the stakes are the total annihilation of your biological species, you have no right to risk. You have no right to hope. You cannot afford to wait 200 years to verify if their words are true. In those 200 years, they could build a fleet and destroy you. Mathematically, in this equation, there is only one solution that guarantees your survival 100%. That solution is to pull the trigger first. Eliminate the potential threat the very moment you detect it. Not because you are evil, not because you hate them, but simply because it is the only way to guarantee they won't destroy you. To feel this horror physically, forget about space. Imagine a different situation. Imagine you are in a huge, absolutely dark room. It is a steel basement with no windows or doors. The darkness is so thick you can't even see your own hand. You are not alone. There is someone else in this room. You don't know who it is. You don't know how many of them there are. And most importantly, you have a loaded gun in your hands. And the other person in this room, they have a gun too. You are both scared to death. You both want only one thing to get out of here alive. You don't want to kill. You are a normal person. You stand with your back pressed against the cold wall, listening. You hold your breath so as not to make a sound. Your heart is pounding so loudly, you think the whole room can hear it. Suddenly, in the far corner, you hear a rustle. Someone stepped on broken glass, or someone just sighed too loudly. What will you do? Will you try to shout, "Hey, I'm a friend, don't shoot"? Think carefully. If you shout, you give away your exact location. If that other person is a psychopath, or just more scared than you, they will shoot at the sound of your voice. You will die instantly. Can you take the risk? No. The stake is your life. Maybe you just stay silent, but you already heard him. You know where he is. And he probably suspects he gave himself away. He is panicking right now. He is thinking, damn, I was heard. They're going to shoot me. I have to shoot first in the direction where I think the enemy is standing. You understand his train of thought? You understand that he is about to start shooting blindly out of fear. And you have only one rational option left. You raise your gun, aim at the sound of the rustle, and pull the trigger. You shoot so that you don't get shot. In this dark room, it is not the kind who survives, and not the strong. The survivor is the one who shoots first, and the survivor is the one who knows how to sit quieter than water, lower than grass. Any sound is death. Any light is death. Any attempt at communication is suicide. Now transfer this room to the scale of the universe. This is the dark forest. Space is not a void. It is a dark forest full of hunters armed to the teeth, creeping through the trees. They are ancient civilizations that have survived in this meat grinder for billions of years. They push branches aside as silently as possible. They muffle their engines. They mask the heat radiation of their planets. They know the rules of the game. In this forest, hell is other people. The eternal threat that anyone who discovers your existence will immediately press a button and send a projectile your way that destroys a star. Why immediately? Why can't they just watch us? Here, another terrifying concept comes into force. The technological explosion. You might think, well, we are primitive. We haven't even left our system yet. We pose no threat to a super civilization. Why waste ammo on us? This is a mistake. On cosmic timescales, the development of a civilization does not happen linearly, but explosively. Look at us. For 5,000 years, We rode horses and swung swords, and suddenly in just 100 years, a blink of an eye for the universe, we went from horses to atomic bombs, computers, and space travel, to an ancient observer living for millions of years. Humanity is a ticking time bomb. Today we are harmless ants, but due to the law of accelerating progress, tomorrow in some 200 or 300 years, we could become gods capable of burning galaxies. If a hunter sees a wolf cub in the forest, he doesn't think, how cute, let it grow. He thinks, one day it will grow up and eat me. Better to kill it now, while it's easy and cheap. Destroying a young civilization is a matter of hygiene and safety. It is cheap. Sending a small asteroid or a burst of gamma rays is enough. It requires no effort. But the risk that this young civilization will grow up and become a competitor is enormous. Therefore, a simple rule applies in the dark forest. Detected, destroy. No conversations, no warnings, no malice, just business. Just the mathematics of survival. This is exactly why the universe is silent. It is not a peaceful silence. It is the silence of death. It is the held breath of billions of beings who are afraid to make a sound. The hunters hide themselves. The prey hide themselves. Those who were stupid and made noise are already dead. Their stars went out long ago, turning into cosmic dust. And now remember our radiosphere. Remember Arecibo. Remember the Voyagers. In this forest full of snipers who shoot at any rustle, there is only one idiot. One idiot who lit a giant bonfire. One idiot who set up powerful speakers and is broadcasting to the entire forest. I am here. I have water. I have resources. Come to me. That idiot is humanity. We didn't just walk into a dark room with a gun. We walked in there draped in neon garlands and started beating drums. We violated the main rule of survival. We gave away our coordinates, and now the question is not whether there is someone out there. The question is only one thing: how fast is the bullet flying that has already been fired in our direction? Perhaps the strange silence of space that we observe is not the absence of life. Perhaps it is simply the flight time of the projectile. We sent a signal in 1974. It has now traveled 50 light years. Someone could have heard it 20 years ago, and 20 years ago, they could have made a decision. If they sent a reply in the form of a stream of relativistic particles moving at the speed of light, we won't see it coming. We won't see ships in orbit. We won't see lasers. Simply one day the sky will instantly turn bright, and a fraction of a second later we will be gone. We think the Fermi Paradox is a scientific riddle. But the dark forest theory tells us it is not a riddle. It is a warning written in the blood of thousands of dead civilizations. Hush. If you want to live, be silent. But we have already screamed, and the echo of our scream is flying through the stars, straight into the ears of those who know no pity. If we accept the cold, ruthless logic of the dark forest, then the entire map of our universe, which we have drawn in our imagination for centuries, changes instantly. We must burn the old maps. We must forget the optimistic pictures from school textbooks where different civilizations exchange knowledge, trade rare minerals, and create interstellar alliances. This does not exist. These are fairy tales to calm children before sleep. In the new, terrifying model of reality, the universe is not divided into evil and good, not into democracies and tyrannies. It is divided by a much simpler, binary, and brutal principle. There are only two types of civilizations. The first type is the loud. The second type is the quiet. And the most terrifying correlation we have to realize is the following. On cosmic timescales, loud civilizations are always dead or dying. Civilizations and the quiet are the only ones who survived. There is no third option. There is not a single old wise race broadcasting to the entire galaxy. If they did that, they simply wouldn't have had time to become old. Let's honestly look at our place in this classification. Right now, humanity is the loudest, most noticeable entity in our sector of the Milky Way. We radiate radio waves on all frequencies, we glow in the infrared spectrum, we change the chemical composition of our atmosphere so that it is visible to spectrographs thousands of light years away. We are an anomaly. We are a flagrant violation of the silence regime in a library where everyone else sits holding their breath. Imagine the wild. Imagine a thick, dark forest in early spring. A tall old tree stands there, and from a nest at the very top, out of carelessness or curiosity, a baby bird falls out. It falls into the tall, thick grass. It is alive, its bones are intact, but it is scared, it is cold, and it is completely alone in an unfamiliar world. What does the baby bird do? Its instinct, embedded by millions of years of evolution under the protection of parents, tells it only one thing: scream, and it starts to chirp. It chirps loudly, desperately, putting all its life force into this sound. In its tiny brain, a simple, linear, logical chain works. I will call and Mom will come, Mom will hear, Mom will warm me, Mom will bring food. For the chick, a loud sound is the only available tool for salvation. It is a distress signal addressed to love and care. But the chick does not understand one fatal thing. It is no longer in the nest. It is on the ground in the dark forest, full of shadows and rustles. Its chirping is indeed heard. The laws of physics work for everyone. A sound wave spreads in all directions equally, but Mom is far away. She might be hunting, or she might have perished. And right nearby, in the neighboring bushes, sits a fox. The fox is not evil. She is not a monster from nightmares. She does not hate birds. She simply has her own puppies that need to be fed and a survival instinct that demands calories. For her, the chick's chirp is not an emotional plea for help. For her, it is a dinner bell. It is a signal: food is here. These are precise GPS coordinates of easy, warm prey that cannot even fly away. Humanity is that very chick that fell from the cozy nest of the solar system into the huge, cold, and indifferent forest of the galaxy. We are frightened by our cosmic loneliness. We feel the cold of infinity chilling us to the bone. And our instinct, the social instinct of a species that survived in the savannah only thanks to communication and cooperation, forces us to scream. We are here. We are intelligent. We know math. We split the atom. Please, talk to us. We are lonely. We build giant radio telescope dishes and point them at the sky, hoping that Mom will hear us, some higher kind, omnipotent force that will save us from ourselves. Give us technologies of eternal life and wisdom so we don't destroy our planet. But we forget that the forest does not work on the principles of a nursery. The forest works on the principles of thermodynamic efficiency. And in this forest, the one who gives away their location becomes dinner. The fox that hurt us has already lifted its head. Its ears have turned in our direction, localizing the source of the noise. It has already begun its silent, fluid movement through the undergrowth. And when it arrives, we, in our cosmic naivety, will probably even run to meet it, thinking this is our long-awaited salvation. This metaphor forces us to completely rethink the concept of the so-called Great Filter. Before, we thought the Great Filter was some natural internal barrier: nuclear war, an asteroid impact, climate change, an inevitable pandemic. We thought civilizations die because they are stupid and make mistakes in their development. We thought it was suicide. But the dark forest theory suggests a much darker external option. What if the Great Filter is not an accident? What if it is a finely tuned mechanism? What if the filter is other civilizations? Perhaps there is a certain threshold of technological noise. As soon as a young civilization discovers radio and starts uncontrollably radiating energy into space, it enters the death zone. It lights a match in a dark gunpowder magazine. It has a tiny window of opportunity. Maybe 100, maybe 200 years to realize its mistake, grow up and shut up, to hide, to go into cable, into fiber optics, into neutrino communication. If it doesn't shut up, if it continues to scream into the void with the persistence of an idiot, the cleaner comes. A more advanced force comes and eliminates the source of the noise. This explains the Fermi Paradox perfectly and terrifyingly. We don't see anyone because all the loud were destroyed millions of years ago. Their planets were turned into glass balls or asteroid belts, and all the quiet are too smart and too frightened by history to let us know about themselves with even a single squeak. We must try to understand the psychology of these cleaners, these galactic hunters. We are used to demonizing the enemy, imagining him as a vicious alien with a blaster thirsting for blood. But reality is likely much more prosaic and therefore scarier. Evil in the universe is most likely banal. It is quite probable that we will not even be destroyed by living beings with emotions and ambitions. Imagine a civilization that lived 1 billion years ago. They reached the peak of development. They understood the danger of the dark forest. They knew they couldn't patrol the galaxy forever with their fragile biological bodies. And they created an automated, autonomous defense system, von Neumann probes, self-replicating hunter machines. These machines, which science fiction calls berserkers, have a simple but flawless program embedded in their base code: patrol the sector. Look for signs of ordered, artificial, electromagnetic signals. Upon detection, proceed to source, assess threat potential, and sterilize the planet. The creators of these machines could have gone extinct millions of years ago. Their civilization could have crumbled to dust. Their stars could have burned out. But the machines remained. Like ancient sea mines, they drift in the void, sleeping, cold and visible to our primitive radars. They feel no hatred. They feel no pity. They know no fatigue. They simply wait for a trigger, a mathematical signal to act. And 100 years ago, we pulled that trigger. When Guglielmo Marconi sent the first powerful radio signal across the Atlantic, he didn't just connect 2 continents. He pressed the doorbell button on a door behind which a monster sleeps. Since then, we have been pressing that button continuously, every day, every second, increasing the power. And the most terrible thing in this rethinking is that we are doing it intentionally. There is a program called METI, Messaging Extraterrestrial Intelligence. This is not passive listening to the sky SETI. This is an active, aggressive attempt to scream. The scientists standing behind METI say, we must take the initiative. We must show the universe that we are here and ready for contact. They sent the famous Arecibo Message. They sent Beatles songs into space. Recently in 2022, the Beacon in the Galaxy project was proposed and developed, broadcasting our precise galactic position, detailed human biochemical composition, and even digitized images of male and female bodies. From the perspective of the dark forest theory, this is not science, and this is not diplomacy. This is collective suicide. A small group of enthusiasts, without asking the opinion or consent of the other 8 billion inhabitants of Earth, took upon themselves the right to switch on a powerful spotlight in a dark room full of armed snipers. They naively believe that if we show our openness and defenselessness, we will be pitied. But in nature, weakness never evokes pity. Weakness evokes appetite. Weakness provokes an attack. Let's imagine, without embellishment, what the end will look like. Exactly how the fox will grab the chick. We, raised by Hollywood, wait for an invasion fleet. We wait for the sky to darken with giant motherships, like in the movie Independence Day. We wait for an ultimatum to be presented, for a battle of heroes, for the president to give a speech. But a highly developed civilization does not fight so primitively and wastefully. Why risk their ships? Why waste resources on moving a fleet? Why enter into any contact at all? The strike from the dark forest will be fast, cheap, sterile, and absolutely sudden. Most likely it will be a relativistic kinetic attack. The cleansers only need to take an ordinary asteroid or a dense piece of metal weighing just a few tons, accelerate it to 95% or 99% of the speed of light using their gravitational engines, and simply direct it toward Earth. At such speed, this small piece of metal, according to Einstein's laws, acquires relativistic mass and kinetic energy comparable to the simultaneous explosion of millions of nuclear bombs. We won't see it approaching. We won't be able to shoot it down. Our radar simply won't have time to detect an object flying at almost the speed of light. Optics won't see it against the background of space's blackness. 1 second, we will be living our normal lives, going to work, drinking morning coffee, arguing on the internet, loving our children, looking at the stars. And in the next fraction of a second, the atmosphere will ignite, the oceans will evaporate, and the crust of the Earth's surface will turn into an expanding cloud of plasma. Without warning, without a declaration of war, without the opportunity to surrender or beg for mercy. Simply someone or something 1,000 light-years away decided that the radio noise from the third planet of a yellow dwarf had become too annoying and potentially dangerous, and pressed the delete button. This rethinking fundamentally changes our view on the very concept of civilization and progress. We used to think that the pinnacle of civilization's development is a global galactic commonwealth, a trade network, the exchange of art and science, but perhaps the true pinnacle of development is perfect stealth. Perhaps the wisest, most ancient and powerful civilizations of the universe look to an outside observer not like shining empires, but like absolute emptiness. They learn to screen their stars with Dyson spheres so as not to let a single photon of excess light out, using energy inside a closed cycle. They switch to communication via directed neutrino beams or quantum entanglement, which is impossible to intercept from the side. They erased their tracks. They became invisible to survive. They curled inward instead of expanding outward. They are probably watching us right now. At our bright, noisy, radioactive planet, which glows like a Christmas tree in a dark forest. And they do not admire our bravery. They look at us with horror and disgust, the way one looks at a madman lighting a cigarette while sitting on a barrel of gunpowder. They know what happens next. They have seen this scenario thousands of times over the last millions of years. Every time, history repeats itself with frightening precision. A young race discovers technology. A young race starts screaming, "We are here." A young race attracts the attention of the cleanser. A young race disappears in a flash, leaving behind only melted ruins and a faint background of radiation that quickly dissipates. We are currently in exactly this phase. We are that very chick lying in the grass for 100 years already, chirping, and it seems strange to us that mom isn't coming. It seems hurtful that the forest is silent, but the forest is not silent. The forest has frozen. The forest is listening. All the animals in the forest have gone quiet because they hear the heavy footsteps of the predator walking toward our screen. And only we, in our blindness and deafness, continue to increase the power of our transmitters, thinking that if we scream even louder, we will finally be saved. This is the terrible irony of our search for extraterrestrial intelligence. We are looking for brothers in reason to get rid of our existential loneliness. But perhaps loneliness is the only thing that has kept us safe so far. Perhaps the wall of silence we are banging our heads against is not a prison wall, but a protective shield, and we are desperately trying to break through it, not realizing that outside is not freedom, but an abyss full of teeth. In this new model of the universe, silence is a synonym for life, and noise is a prelude to death. And if we accept this model as a working hypothesis, we are left with only one logical but practically impossible conclusion. We must shut up right now, immediately. We must turn off all powerful transmitters, stop sending maps and greetings, stop inviting guests we don't know. We must pretend that we are not here. We must learn to be the quiet, to become invisible, but perhaps it is already too late. Earth's radiosphere has been expanding for over a century. The light has flown. The letter is sent, and it cannot be recalled from the post office. The chick has already screamed. And now it only remains for him to wait and watch who comes out of the shadows of the trees. A caring mother who possibly doesn't exist, or a hungry fox who never misses. But judging by the dead, ringing silence all around, there is simply no mother in this forest. When the ice-cold logic of the dark forest penetrates consciousness, our relationship with the starry sky changes forever. The primal fear of being annihilated is just the tip of the iceberg. Beneath this fear hides something deeper, sticky, and soul-corroding, a feeling that is much harder to accept than physical death. It is a feeling of the deepest, burning shame for our own cosmic stupidity. We are used to looking at the stars with hope and pride. We are used to feeling like brave explorers standing on the bow of a ship sailing into the unknown. But the dark forest theory ruthlessly rips the mantle of pioneers off us and leaves us completely naked. It shows us that our vaunted bravery is not a virtue at all. It is simply a total lack of self-preservation instinct, multiplied by the colossal, unjustified arrogance of a species that imagined itself the center of the universe. To truly understand this shame, you don't need to fly into space or be an astrophysicist. Remember an earthly situation that perhaps everyone has been in, or at least observed from the side. Imagine you are at an elite, closed social reception. This is a serious event where the stakes are incredibly high. Gathered here are veterans, diplomats of warring nations, generals of intelligence agencies, and survivors of catastrophes. A tense, polite, restrained atmosphere reigns in the room. People speak quietly, weighing every word, because they know one wrong move could cost lives. And suddenly, a man bursts into this room with a crash. He is drunk on his own euphoria and ignorance. He kicks the doors open, interrupts the whispers of important negotiations, and loudly, for the whole hall to hear, starts telling an incredibly vulgar, stupid, and inappropriate joke. He is sure that he is the life of the party. He thinks that right now, all these serious people in suits will laugh, pat him on the shoulder, appreciate his openness, and offer him a drink. He stands in the center of the hall with a wide, idiotic smile, arms spread wide in anticipation of an ovation. But instead of laughter, silence falls. Absolute, dead, ringing silence. No one laughs. No one even smiles politely. Hundreds of eyes turn to him. But in these gazes, there is none of the friendliness he expected. In them is a cold mixture of bewilderment, disgust, and cruel calculation. Generals are assessing if this noisy idiot poses a security threat. Diplomats are deciding how to remove him from the game most quickly and quietly so he doesn't spoil the fragile balance of power. Hunters see in him easy prey that walked into the trap itself. And at that moment, the smile on the Joker's face begins to slowly slide off. It dawns on him. He suddenly physically feels the air in the room turn icy. He realizes he is not the hero of the party. He is a clown who violated the main unwritten rules of survival in this harsh society. He committed social suicide without even realizing it. Humanity is that drunk, naive joker who burst into the galactic negotiation hall where ancient and dangerous players are sitting. We entered the Milky Way, which has lived by the brutal laws of survival and competition for billions of years, and from the doorway we started screaming about our presence. We sent our most intimate photos into space. We sent music. We sent funny pictures. We sent a detailed map of our home, indicating the key under the mat. We sincerely thought the galaxy was a festival of friendship and exchange of cultural experience. We thought that if we showed how open, cheerful, and harmless we are, we would certainly be loved and accepted. But we didn't stop for a second to think about how this looks from the perspective of those who have been sitting in this dark hall for millions of years. To ancient civilizations that have survived Star Wars, the destruction of their suns, epidemics, and purges, our behavior does not look cute or touching. It looks insane. It looks pathological. Imagine you are sitting in a dirty trench during a night bombardment. Snipers are working all around. Drones are in the sky. You are afraid to even light a cigarette so as not to give away your position. And suddenly, your new inexperienced trenchmate stands up full height above the parapet, lights a bright firework, and starts singing songs loudly to raise morale. You will not feel sympathy for him. You will not admire his bravery. You will feel rage, because this idiot is unmasking your position. He is endangering not only his worthless life, but also your family and your comrades. The only rational, merciful action in such a situation is to silence him, hit him, tie him up, gag him, by any means. Immediately, this realization overturns our entire worldview. Maybe that frightening silence of the universe that we hear is not emptiness. Maybe the silence of the universe is a heavy, judging gaze. Billions of stars are looking at us right now. And they are silent not because they have nothing to say. They are silent the way adults are silent when a child does something indecent, dangerous, or shameful. They look at us with Spanish shame of a cosmic scale, awaiting the inevitable denouement. We look at the Voyager golden record with pride. A shiny disk rushing through eternity, a monument to our art and science. We consider this the highest achievement of our humanism. But let's try to make an effort and look at this disk not through the eyes of an artist, but through the eyes of a hungry alien biologist or strategist. What does he see on this disk? He doesn't hear the beauty of Bach's music. He sees data. He sees a detailed diagram of our DNA, instructions on how we can be infected or destroyed by a biological weapon. He sees the parameters of our atmosphere and gravity, confirmation that our planet is suitable for colonization. He sees the precise coordinates of our sun relative to 14 pulsars. This is not just an address. This is an attack vector. For a predatory civilization, this is not cultural heritage. This is a menu. This is an invitation to dinner with home delivery. It is as if a stupid sheep drew a detailed map of a secret passage into the sheepfold. Attached photos of sleeping dogs indicated the exact time the shepherd goes to lunch, and scattered thousands of these leaflets in a forest where wolves live. Will a wolf who finds such a leaflet call this sheep a brave explorer? Will he admire her thirst for knowledge? No. He will call her dinner. He will thank evolution for creating such idiots. Our fatal naivety stems from our incurable egocentrism. We are used to considering ourselves the main characters of this story. In all our movies, in all our books, aliens fly specifically to us. We are the center of the plot. They want to conquer us or save us or enslave us or study us. But the truth of the dark forest is that we are interesting to no one as individuals. We are not interesting as conversationalists. We are not the protagonists of a galactic drama. We aren't even the main villains. We are background noise. We are mold that grew on a wet rock on the outskirts of the galaxy and suddenly started vibrating too loudly, irritating the ear. Imagine you are riding the subway during rush hour. The car is full of people. Everyone is buried in their phones. Everyone is tired after work. Everyone just wants to get home safely. And suddenly a city madman enters the car. He is dirty. He talks loudly to himself, waves his arms, looks into people's faces, and pesters them with senseless, frightening questions. Do you hear me? Who am I? Why are we here? Do you want to be my friends? What do the people in the car do? No one enters into a dialogue with him. No one wants to know his rich inner world or philosophy. Everyone averts their eyes. Everyone pretends he doesn't exist. Everyone tenses up and hopes he gets off at the next stop and doesn't come near them. Because contact with a madman is a risk. It is unpredictability. It is dirt. It is a potential outburst of violence. Perhaps the Fermi Paradox is the madman on the subway effect. Highly developed civilizations see our chaotic radio signals. They see how we thrash about, how we detonate atomic bombs on the surface of our own planet, how we poison our biosphere with plastic and gases, and at the same time desperately look for friends while possessing technologies of destruction. To them, we are a toxic, unstable, aggressive species that hasn't left adolescence yet, but has already found a father's loaded gun in the closet and is playing with it. They don't want to destroy us until it becomes a necessity, but they definitely don't want to talk to us. They simply avert their eyes, screen their communication systems, and wait for us to get off at our stop, or for us to destroy ourselves, which, judging by our news, seems to them the most likely outcome. This brings us to the heaviest, most unbearable philosophical question, to the question of responsibility. Up until today, we considered radio astronomy and attempts at active contact, METI, the noblest deed of humanity. We considered it pure science, the search for truth. But if the dark forest hypothesis is true by even 10%, even by 1%, then every signal sent into space intentionally is not science. It is a crime. It is a crime against the future. It is a crime against our children and grandchildren, whom we didn't even ask. A small group of scientists and dreamers, driven by curiosity, unilaterally makes a decision for all of humanity. They say, "We want to know," and for the sake of this abstract knowledge, they stake the physical existence of the entire biological species Homo sapiens. This is not courage. This is the recklessness of a pathological gambler who sneaks into a casino at night and bets the house in which his family is sleeping peacefully at that time, hoping to win the jackpot. But he forgot to learn the rules of the game. In the cosmic casino, there are no jackpots. The casino always wins. And in this case, the casino is entropy, predatory evolution, and natural selection. We thought the scariest thing in the universe was realizing we are alone, that we are orphans. We were wrong. The scariest thing is when you scream into the darkness, thinking you are alone, and suddenly realize the darkness is listening to you, that the silence around is not a lack of hearing. It is extreme, tense attention. This feeling is like being in an old, abandoned house at night. You think you are alone. Floorboards creak. The wind hums in the pipes. These are the usual sounds of an empty house. They aren't scary, but suddenly you hear a sound that doesn't fit the picture. Quiet, measured breathing behind your back, or the barely audible metallic click of a bolt being cocked in the corner. In that second, the world turns upside down. Cozy loneliness instantly turns into a death trap. Silence changes its texture. It becomes heavy, dense, threatening. It presses on the ears. You realize that your ignorance was bliss, and your knowledge is the beginning of the end. We are right now at this transition point. For 100 years, we enjoyed cozy loneliness, sending signals and feeling safe. Today, with our new knowledge about exoplanets, about the age of the universe, about predator behavior, and about game theory, we are beginning to hear that bolt click. We are beginning to understand that our openness is not a strength and not a gift. It is our Achilles heel, a mortal vulnerability. We are standing in the middle of an absolutely dark room, draped in glowing garlands and jingling bells, and we have just, with horror, realized why everyone else in this room is standing silently, motionless, and in total darkness. They are standing silently not because they are stupid. They are standing silently because they survived. They saw those who jingled bells before us, and they saw what became of them. They saw gamma-ray flashes where loud civilizations used to be. Now, as the euphoria of our cosmic party wears off, the heavy, cold hangover of reality sets in, and this hangover brings with it a chilling, paralyzing thought. Our scream can no longer be stopped. It flies at the speed of light. The sphere of radio emission expands, touching new stars every second. We have already told that stupid joke. The words have flown, and they cannot be caught. And now we can only stand in complete silence, feel the heavy, unblinking stares from the darkness upon us, and wait for the room's reaction. And pray to all the gods we ever invented that this reaction is just contemptuous silence, and not something much faster, hotter, and final. Ultimately, when all disputes and theories subside, we are left alone with physics. And physics is the cruelest, coldest, and most unrelenting of all sciences, because it knows no concept of forgiveness. It knows no pity. It knows only rigid cause and effect relationships. And the main tragedy of our situation lies not even in what we did out of stupidity. The problem lies in the fundamental nature of time and light itself. We are accustomed to the saying, "A word is not a sparrow. If it flies out, you won't catch it." But on the scale of the cosmos, a radio wave is not just a word or abstract information. It is a real physical object. It is a dense stream of photons which, once born in a transmitter antenna, becomes effectively immortal. You cannot catch up to a radio signal. You cannot erase it like a file from a hard drive. You cannot pause it or recall it. The very moment an engineer at Arecibo flipped the on switch, or when you made your first call on a mobile phone, or when a powerful television tower broadcasted footage of war chronicles into the ether, you released a bird from its cage, and this bird flies at a speed of 300,000 kilometers per second, away from Earth through cosmic dust and gas, through the fabric of space-time, forever changing the structure of the universe. In physics, this is called the light cone of the future. Every event creates an expanding sphere of influence. Everything that falls inside this sphere is causally linked to us, and we cannot stop the expansion of this cone. Right now, while we sit here and reason about the dark forest, the sphere of our presence, the sphere of our noise, has already covered thousands of star systems. This is not a theoretical model and not a hypothesis. This is an accomplished fact of reality. At a distance of 50 light years from us, the wave front has already passed. If someone is there, they already know everything about us. At a distance of 80 light years, they are currently watching our news from the 40s of the 20th century. And what do they see? They don't see culture and art. They see the first nuclear explosions. They see world wars. They see one species of primate systematically destroying its own kind with increasingly perfect weapons. We sent not just a greeting into space. We sent our dossier, and in this dossier it is written in black and white. We are an aggressive, unstable, rapidly developing species, prone to violence and genocide. For an external observer who thinks in categories of security, this is not an invitation to friendship. This is an alarm signal. This is a video recording of frenzy broadcasted to the entire forest. We can change nothing. History is already written, but not in books that can be burned, but in the electromagnetic spectrum, which is eternal. We are an open book whose pages are being turned by someone invisible in the dark. And this brings us to the scariest thought of this finale. To the thought that the choice we are now so heatedly discussing, to make noise or be silent, to hide or to seek, is actually no longer before us. This choice was made for us by our grandfathers and great-grandfathers when they turned on the first radio. We have already screamed. The Rubicon has been crossed. And now the only thing left for us is to wait for the echo. But in the dark forest where only paranoids survive, the echo does not return as sound. It returns as fire. Imagine the concept of the time bullet. If a civilization living 50 light years away from us heard us 25 years ago, analyzed the threat, and made the decision to immediately eliminate a potential competitor, they have already pulled the trigger. They fired a projectile, or a beam, or a swarm of self-replicating nanobots. or strange matter. This weapon is flying toward us right now. At this very second, while you are taking a breath, while you are blinking, it is flying through the icy void, cold, silent, and absolutely inevitable. We don't see it approaching because it moves almost at the speed of light. Information about its launch will reach us simultaneously with the impact itself. We will get no warning. We won't see a dot on the radar. We live in a strange, illusory safety of the bubble of the present time. We look at the stars and see their calm, eternal light. But this light is a lie. It is a picture from the distant past, in the present moment perhaps. The death sentence has already been signed, the seal stamped, and the execution of the sentence is already rushing toward us through the abyss. This turns our entire existence, our entire civilization, into one continuous, endless game of Russian roulette, where the revolver drum spins not for a second, but for centuries. We put the muzzle to humanity's temple the day Popov and Marconi invented the radio, and we pulled the trigger. Click. Nothing yet. Silence. We are alive. We pulled it again, sending the Arecibo message. Click. Lucky again, the sky is clear. We pulled it a third time, launching the METI program and the Voyagers. It seems to us that since there was no shot, the gun isn't loaded. It seems to us that we are lucky, that we are destiny's favorites. But in cosmic roulette, there is a nuance. Between pulling the trigger and the shot, 1,000 years can pass. The bullet takes a long time to fly, but the laws of ballistics tell us that it never misses. Let's return to our last final metaphor, the one that should stay with you when this screen goes dark and you are left in the silence of your room. Imagine that you live in a lonely house, standing on the outskirts. Around you, for hundreds of miles, not a soul, no roads, no police, only a dense, ancient, primeval forest, where a human foot has never stepped, but which is full of alien life. Night falls, a deep, black, moonless night. You know that there are beasts in this forest. You have heard terrible stories. You have seen deep claw marks on the bark of trees. Any rational person, anyone who wants to live until dawn, would in such a situation lock the doors with all locks, close the shutters, draw the heavy curtains, turn off the lights, and sit quietly as a mouse, hoping that the night passes calmly and his house is mistaken for an empty rock. But we didn't do that. We flung the front door wide open, tearing it off its hinges. We turned on bright electric lights throughout the house. We lit a powerful spotlight on the porch, the beam of which strikes into the very thicket of the forest, cutting through the saving darkness and giving away our shelter. We set the table, put the best food we had on the threshold. And to be absolutely sure that even the most distant and lazy predators notice us, we turned the music up to full volume and started screaming into the darkness, straining our voices. Come in, we are here, we are open, we are delicious. And now, imagine this moment. The music has died down, the scream has cut off, the euphoria has passed. You are standing in the frame of the open door, on the thin border of light and darkness. Behind your back is the warmth and comfort of your home, your sleeping family, your children, your entire fragile history, everything you love. And before you is a wall of impenetrable black forest. You peer into the darkness until your eyes hurt, but your pupils, accustomed to the bright light, see nothing. But you feel with your skin that the forest has changed. The usual night sounds, the chirping of crickets, the hooting of an owl, the noise of wind in the leaves, have suddenly vanished. That very unnatural, dense silence has set in. The silence of presence, the silence of an ambush. Someone is standing there, right beyond the edge of the light from your lantern. In the shadow of the trees, someone very big, someone incredibly ancient, and someone very hungry or very frightened by your noise. He makes no sound. He does not growl. He simply stands and looks at you with an unblinking gaze. He is studying you. He is assessing if you have a gun. He is deciding whether to come inside right now, in one leap, or wait until you get tired and fall asleep. And at this moment, standing on the wind-blown threshold, you realize the full chilling horror of the perfect mistake. You want to slam the door. Your hand reaches frantically for the handle. You want to turn the lock, barricade yourself, hide under the blanket, but you realize with horror that it is useless. The door was open for too long. The light burned too brightly. The one who came out of the forest has already seen everything he needed to see. He already knows the layout of the house. He has already counted the tenants. He has already seen that you have no weapons and no protection. A slammed door will not stop him. A lock will not delay him. Walls are papered to him. Now it is simply a question of time and his decision. We, humanity, are standing in this doorway right now. We are frozen on the threshold. We are looking into the abyss of space, which we so recklessly invited over, thinking it was a game. And we ask ourselves the same question. Why aren't they coming? Where is everyone? Maybe because there is truly no one there. Maybe we are the only spark of reason. And the forest is empty and dead. That would be the happiest ending. Total loneliness as salvation from horror. But there is another option, the one that makes the blood run cold. They aren't coming because they are already here. They are standing in the shadows, in the Oort cloud, beyond the edge of our solar system. They are watching. They are listening to our radio broadcasts. They are analyzing our fears. They are downloading our data. They are learning our languages. They are waiting for the perfect moment to strike, when we become a little more dangerous, but are still vulnerable. Or perhaps that very projectile is already flying. And that bright star you love to look at in the evenings while making wishes is actually the exhaust of the braking engine of a giant destruction machine that is killing its speed before entering a firing position. We will never know for sure until it happens. We won't know the truth until the last nanosecond. This is the curse of the open door. You are no longer the master in your own home. You are the one waiting. You are a victim of circumstances you created yourself. You flinch at every creak of the floorboards. You peer into every shadow in the corner, and the scariest thought that keeps you awake sounds like this. If the universe is a dark forest where everyone hides and stays silent to survive, then who do you have to be? Not to be afraid to step into the light. Who must one be to respond to the invitation of prey? Only the apex predator. The guests we called will definitely come. Sooner or later, physics and probability theory guarantee this. But when they walk into our open door, will we like what they bring with them? Or will we, in the last blinding second of our existence, finally understand why all other civilizations chose eternal silence? Look at the night sky tonight, not through a screen but with your own eyes. Look at this infinite, majestic scattering of stars. Before it seemed beautiful to you. Before it seemed like a field of wonders full of possibilities and romance. But now, knowing what you know about the dark forest, does it still look empty? Or does it look like thousands of optical sights of sniper rifles aimed from the darkness at one single point straight at us? We left the light on. The door is wide open, and a grave cold has already begun to waft from the darkness. We can only wait and hope that we are wrong about everything. Because if we are right even by half, then we have no time left to close the door.